What's up, sports fans? It is another edition of the DC Sports Huddle. I am Rob Woodfork at the controls today. Very pleased to have, for the first time on the show, Jay Brooks.
Love it.
That is not.
Where's the sound? Where's the applause sound effect? You know, we really need to work on this stuff.
I didn't bring it. And nobody.
There you go.
Nobody cheers Lex Luthor. That's not a thing. So George Wallace is here.
Wow.
Dave Preston, our regulars. And we're talking all things Washington football team because, hey, it's football season. We've got a week of college football already in the books. Now we're moving on to the NFL. As of this recording, we will watch the Bucs demolish the Cowboys tomorrow night. So that's on the docket. Yeah, I'm calling it, George. But the Washington football team at practice today, Curtis Samuel, his stay was pretty brief. George, what did you see at practice?
Yeah, and that's the big question mark, guys. It's like, you know what? This team has got no other question marks as far as injuries are concerned, which is a very positive thing. I mean, it's basically boring right now, and that's what Ron Rivera wants. The only thing he's talking about injury-wise is Curtis Samuel. I mean, we saw him today. He started out there doing the one-on-one drills. He's going to be officially listed as a DNP, but he was doing the warm-up stuff that we could watch. Now we're in regular season mode, so we only get to watch the first, portion of it. But then he had to be taken off, and he was getting stretched out by the trainer, then went off to the side field. So Rivera said after practice, he officially did not practice, and they'll see how he is in the morning. Look, he said he felt good coming out of Monday's practice, which was a positive, and then he had the day off, and then getting back out there Wednesday. There was a little bit of hope maybe that he would play Sunday, but I don't see it now. I think this is becoming a bigger issue than everybody wanted to believe it was.
And with those speed guys, groins are something that can linger. I feel like that was one of the injuries that Deshaun Jackson had when he was here. It feels like
guys that are fast like us, it's true. You can't, it's tough.
Exactly.
It's a tough deal. But you worry now that it's a lingering thing. I mean, it already is a lingering thing, but at what point are we going to actually see him on the field? Because him not playing, to me, is a big deal. I mean, that's a big free agent signing, another weapon for Fitz. So that's a big deal for me. In both the run and the pass game, because he does log some plays that just do things to get the ball in his hands, be it as a receiver or as a rusher. And Jay, actually the underrated aspect of Washington, I feel like going into this season is that, just like George said, they're healthier than we've seen them in a long time. Going into a season, it's usually, a handful of guys that are banged up or guys that are sidelined, but it seems like they're starting, knock on wood, with a clean slate.
Yeah, plenty of wide receivers to pick from just in case. So I think Fitzpatrick will have no issue in trying to find somebody to throw the pigskin to this Sunday. But I don't think it's really going to matter. Week ones are great. What is it? Ron Rivera is 5-5 in season openers. He'll be 5-6 after this Sunday. I'm saying it now.
Wow.
Early.
All right.
Coming from the left coast to come here, the Chargers are just playing with free money right now. They can do anything they want. The pressure's on Ron Rivera and the Washington football team, injuries or not. But again, I think there's plenty of healthy wideouts for Fitzpatrick to choose from this Sunday afternoon.
I mean, that is one of their deeper positions at this point. Dave, what do you think about going into
Jay, thanks for stopping by with the prediction already. Thanks.
Yeah. Wow. That's later on the chart.
No, I didn't get a playbill.
If there's one thing viewers and listeners of the Huddle have known over the last year and change that we've been doing this, it's that I am the king of West Coast team plays on the East Coast at 1:00. So it's 10 a.m. for these guys. So I see Washington coming out and playing really well Sunday. I see the Chargers, who didn't play a lot of guys in the preseason, really look like Jay Gruden's teams that would sleepwalk through that first quarter or so. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes, especially with the way that Washington plays defensively, they'll come out if they take a lead. That is a defense that can keep a lead as opposed to previous units that we've seen here in the Burgundy and Gold that haven't been able to hang on in the latter stages of the game. But with the pass rush, they're built for teams to try to rally against them. And I welcome the Los Angeles Chargers to do so. Of course, they've got a much better quarterback than the Washington football team played for the most part last season. So you've got that. I just think that everything is set up for a Washington week 1 win. Does it mean that they're going to be awesome this season? By no means. But you have to, like, with everything that has gone on over the last 12, 13, 14 months, with the dropping of the team name, with the changing of the broadcast booth, to all of the articles in the Washington Post, to the coach having and surviving cancer, the steady hand of Ron Rivera of this ship. But a lesser coach would have crumbled, and he has not. And right now it's in Ron we trust until we're proven wrong.
Yeah, and to your point about the week 1 thing, I mean, week 1, you get all kinds of surprises on a week 1. I mean, that was the only game the Jaguars won last year, and they beat a Colts team that went to the playoffs. So stands to reason, and I believe this personally, I think the Chargers are the better team in this game, but I think Washington wins the game because of some of the factors you said. Now, on a week 1, I don't think the West Coast to East Coast thing plays in as importantly as it would in a week 10 or a week 11 or something like that. When you
don't take that from him. Don't take that from him.
It's all.
I'm not taking it from him.
Really,
I'm not taking it from him. But I'm just saying, I think
on.
it'll be a factor. It's just not going to be a big factor. But I think the main thing is this: you have a rookie head coach in Los Angeles. You have a second-year quarterback who, and I don't know to what extent they've changed the offensive scheme there, but you have a rookie head coach who's going to be trying to get his bearings. They have a lot of new pieces on the offensive line. They basically rebuilt their offensive line, and you're trying to figure each other out against what is, let's be real, the best defensive line in the league, both in terms of talent level and in terms of depth. So I think that advantage alone helps Washington out. I'm picking them to win 28-17, actually. What do you think, George?
We doing scores?
4 touchdown passes by Fitzpatrick.
Oh, my.
3 of them to McLaurin.
Wow.
Well, that's good.
And Terry McLaurin may or may not have been my first-round pick in my fantasy draft today.
Wow. You're not wasting any time. No, I think it sets up for a Washington win too. I mean, like to Jay's point about the week 1, and I mean, you guys, everything's kind of out the window, and you know, they might turn out to be the better team. You're right, but I think here's the biggest surprise to me going into week 1. You guys sitting down?
Yeah.
There are less than 1,000 tickets left for the game.
Oh.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah. There, guys.
Now, that's that when you look on some of these ticket websites. Now, I can't imagine there's that big of a Chargers following, but you never know. I thought there weren't going to be Dolphin fans a few years ago, and that place was taken over by Turquoise. But I think this team is. I think you're going to see a completely different offense than we saw during the preseason. Well, you got no choice because they didn't get the end zone. I think you're saving. They, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, the old Joe Gibbs thing. You're very vanilla in the preseason. You're saving him. We've seen it. I've seen it in practice. You're going to come out with a few wrinkles. They have the weapons on offense, and then I think the defense is going to be flying around. I think this team is so amped up to get on the field right now, be back in front of fans, at home, and look, you take it 1 week at a time, fine, but this schedule's brutal. So you have 2 games in 5 days, and 2 very winnable games in 5 days. So it's hard for me not to think, looking ahead to next Friday and a chance to be 2-0, because these are very winnable and important games early on in the season. Yes, I know starting out strong is always what you want to do, but this year with that schedule, I think it's very, very important. So, I think Ron's going to stress that. I do.
Yeah, and I think one way or the other, this game needs to be a blowout so that you can start pulling some of your starters, so you're ready for that Giants game, because at the end of the day, that Giants game is weighted a lot more in terms of tiebreakers, in terms of making the playoffs, in terms of winning the division. That is weighted more than a AFC game to start the season.
And real quick, you think about, we talk about the short turn of these Thursday night games. This is the first one. So you're going through a full, these guys have not played a full game, more than a few drives, right? In the preseason. Now you're going to play a full game and have to get right back on the field. So this week 1 Thursday, the week 2, I guess, it could be brutal. I mean, Thursday, that game against the Giants could be some ugly football.
I mean, it's usually ugly football when the Washington and the Giants play. It's the NFC East.
Good point.
Jay,
From a
go ahead.
From a Thursday night standpoint, this is probably as reasonable a Thursday night matchup as you can get, because DC's not too far away from New York. So I think the only thing, if you had the Giants playing Philly or Washington playing Philly, two teams that are fairly, so travel is not as big of an issue, especially in week 1. What I wish that the NFL would do, and they can do this with the bye weeks, your Thursday night game, those two teams, they have the previous Sunday off. Years ago, Commissioner Roger Goodell gave his reasoning why, and it didn't really float with me. But I think college football does it better, because when Virginia Tech would play on a Thursday night, and they owned Thursday nights for a while under Frank Beamer, they would be off the previous Sunday, and they'd be rested and they'd be prepared. When you have teams play 2 games in 5 days, as we will see this upcoming Sunday, then Thursday, you are going to have a team that's overworked and underprepared. And that equals really bad football with safety concerns. And I know it's a money thing. I know why they're doing these things, but it's a shame that the NFL can't get more quality as opposed to more quantity of product out there.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be an either or. Go ahead, Jay.
The 2020 Steelers, who played 3 games in 12 days, are on your side there.
Right.
Gassed them.
I'll give my prediction now. I'm going to go 23-13 Chargers over Washington. Okay. It's going to come down to a blocked field goal attempt by Mr. Hopkins. It'll probably be it could cost him his job. I'll just say that because we know we have a practice squad kicker raring to go who had a full season in the NFL with the Bears not too long ago. I'm also going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say it's going to be white tops for the Bolts, and it's going to be ketchup tops for the Washington football team. And they'll be 0-2 next Friday, because I won't be here. So I'm already giving my prediction for next week against the Giants, because
I like this guy.
And it's a good opponent. Okay. And the division game, it's all going to be 0-2. I got to go with my gut. That's my call. How'd I do?
If this team starts 0-2, you're going to see a lot of
heads will roll.
Panicking people.
But also, if mine comes to fruition, if it's a 28-17 kind of game and the offense looks really good, then everybody's going to be talking Super Bowl. People are going to be booking tickets to go to the Chargers home stadium for Super Bowl Sunday. Dave, what are you seeing as results on Sunday?
I have a 26-18 score with Herbert leading the Chargers on a last-minute drive. They go for 2. They get the 2. Washington gets to 26 thanks to a safety, but they also miss a field goal or 2, may miss an extra point. I think Dustin Hopkins is on shaky ground this year, as Jay has brought up. I think this Washington's able to get an early lead. Fitzpatrick maybe throws 1 or 2 touchdown passes, with one of those coming in the first half, and it allows their defense to play from ahead and just unleash the likes of Chase Young on the. Things could get really fun this upcoming Sunday from that standpoint. But I think we see the seeds of this team maybe not being great this year because they're unable to put this Chargers team away late, and there are going to be questions about the defense. Questions about, is there another guy outside of Terry McLaurin who can catch the football when you need him to? I think Logan Thomas is going to be a good tight end, but I don't think he's as good as people say he's going to be within this offense. And I think the defense, while they've got a great front 4, I'm still worried about the back 7, as you got to be with the different guys that have thrown in there. I think they're going to miss Jimmy Moreland more than a lot of people thought they would. I liked him back there. Jimmy's getting cut. Jimmy's now somewhere else. So I've got a 26-18 final, and are we doing season predictions right now, Rob?
Yeah, we're gonna go to that in a second, because I don't think George did his prediction. But actually, really quick, to the point that both of you made actually about the kicking. I mean, we will remember that 2000 team, the Fortune 500 team that went through all the, what was it, 4 kickers that year?
It was a carousel.
5, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saying, like, the kicking game, that's something that we need to be concerned about. And I'm actually really surprised that they didn't go out and get Joey Sly, who they had, who Ron Rivera had in Carolina. He beat out Graham Gano a couple of years ago, and he's a local kid, which I didn't realize. He's from Stafford. So it would have been a nice little homecoming for him. He's got a big leg. He's not super accurate, but you know, he's younger than D-Hop. So maybe you had something there, but they didn't sign him. So I'm actually kind of confused that it seems like Rivera's not getting as many Carolina guys as we thought he would. It's like he's doing it for the front office. He's doing it on the coaching staff. In terms of the roster, he hasn't really done that. George, what did you give a prediction? I'm losing track now. This is why I don't like to be in charge.
My fault.
I didn't give a score yet.
Okay.
I said they're going to win. I'm going 20-14.
20-4. Okay, lower scoring. I mean, yeah, it tends to be a little sloppier.
It's game one. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Again, it's a crapshoot. So I'm saying 20-14.
All right. So I had them pegged to win this game, and if you had the opportunity to read my NFL preview on WTOP.com, I did all 32 teams, and I do think that the Chargers are the better team. I picked them as actually a wild card in the AFC. I picked Washington to go 8-9. I feel like the defense isn't going to be as good, as dominant as we did. It's going to be good, but I don't think it's going to be dominant. And I feel like the offense is getting a little bit overrated with Fitzpatrick. I think Fitzpatrick is so interesting because he's underrated in the sense that he puts up good numbers on a pretty consistent basis over the course of the last 5 or 6 years. But yet he's overrated because of factors, I guess, his personality and just kind of the swag that he has, and just the Fitz magic thing that surrounds him. So I think you're going to get games like I predict on Sunday where he throws for 4 touchdowns, and then there's going to be games where he doesn't throw any touchdowns and he throws 3 picks and 2 of them return for touchdowns. So I'm really concerned about the depth on the offensive line. If they get any injuries there, that could get really messy really quickly, and you don't have a guy at quarterback who is elite level mobile. I know he can move a little bit, but at age 38 going on 39, he's not getting away from anybody. So I picked him to go 8-9. I think they missed the playoffs. I hope I'm wrong. I could also see a scenario in which they win 11 games and they end up winning this division again. But they don't put strong seasons together consecutively. It seems like they win a division and then they stink for 3 years, and then they win a division when the division's down, and then they stink for 3 years. I'm not saying necessarily that that's going to happen with Rivera, but I just think that they have too tough a schedule to overcome this particular season. George, what are you seeing?
Well, I think the schedule is going to be a big part of this. To your point about the previous division winners, and this is actually how I'm going to start my preview for the that website you just mentioned that we're on, the WTOP.com website. Different outlooks following the last time they won divisions, right? 2012, you had Griffin, but you had the future, and then all, went to hell after that. Jay Gruden in 2015, biggest deal was Kirk Cousins. Is he going to be here or not? You could see some pieces here, fine, but you still had certain people in charge. This, I know we've said it every time, but it feels different. And until it's proven, I mean, then you can't say that it is different. And I totally understand that. But 16 players, that's it, that are here from when Ron took over 2 years ago. So that's not many. So this is totally his team now. And I think you have guys that are buying in. You see guys getting second contracts now. He's kind of taken last year to, he wasn't going to give guys contracts until he got to know them. He wasn't going to extend guys. So I think that you're seeing the result of the turnover, the culture change, or what have you. And I just think that I don't think it's going to be a huge fall off this year. I mean, yeah, the division was god awful last year. I get it. I understand that. But you did bring in some pieces. To me, your quarterback situation is better than it was last year. You have some other guys that are in a year older on the offense as far as weapons are concerned. The defense is a year older. So while there are some question marks, I think that this team is heading in the right direction. And then you're going to get, hopefully, that quarterback of the future soon. I think this team could win 9 games. I think the ceiling is 10. I'm going to pick them to win 9 and 8, and then with a chance to win, possibly to win 10. Again, the division's up for grabs. I could see Philly, Dallas, or Washington winning it. I don't see the Giants winning it, but I think either of these 3 teams can win it. And the last 5 weeks of the year playing the division opponents, it's going to be fun. Buckle up, as the kids say.
That's exactly right. I mean, that is going to make or break the season right there, is having 5 division games stacked on top of each other at the end of the year. What do you say?
On that note,
all right,
go
do your thing, George. Let's see, Jay. We'll get your negative prognostication out of the
it's
way.
Only negative to you, okay? Well, first off, I think it's a good thing that Carolina players have not exited Carolina to come up here, because what has Carolina done? Exactly. I go with a 7-10 record, not making the playoffs. And as you will see at WTOP.com and the predictions, that Mr. Fitzmagic will not finish the season due to, erratic play and then injury. And then Mr. Heineke comes in and will show that he doesn't know how to read a defense, just like RG3. And that little bit of spark from last year will fizzle out. And then we'll end up with our 3rd stringer to finish out the season for a 7-10 record. Again, no playoffs. I don't see Hopkins surviving. Maybe he makes week 1. I don't know. But he had some times last year and in the preseason that were telling me, like, you know what? Just like a hockey coach, you change him every now and then just because you can. I think you got to do it with your kicker. Other than that, health is always a concern in the NFL. We'll find out more after week 1 how the conditioning worked after all this COVID pandemic stuff that we've been going through. You got the fans back in the stadiums now. You got a lot more moving parts. You could have some forfeitures because of the way that the setup goes this year with those fans in the seats. So should be interesting. I'll be there on Sunday. George will be at the stadium. It'll be just like old times with you coming in to relieve me Sunday afternoon. We'll talk about the game. You'll probably be there for the game or around halftime for sure, but it should be a good game. None the doubt with the Chargers coming in, a very good team. Herbert, 2nd year, feeling a little bit more confident. He knows what he's doing out there, rookie head coach or not. I think they're going to be, again, a 23-13 winner in week 1 over the Washington football team. Dave Preston.
All right.
Gentlemen, I have an 8-7-2 prediction dialed up.
2 ties?
Yes, 2 ties. And you know why they tie those games, Jay? Because Hopkins can't kick a field goal in OT. He misses an extra point in the 4th quarter. That's how these ties come into being. I see this team actually making a late season push against the NFC East, but I see them maybe finishing on the outside looking in. I think that their schedule is just too tough. They play all 4 Final Four teams from last year, all 4 quarterbacks. And I think that's just too much for this team. I think they win at least one of those, but it's tough to win back-to-back division games. I don't see them with a 5-0 run to end the season, but I do see them making a strong push. And I see this team improving, but I also see the rest of the league improving, the rest of their schedule getting better. And they're 8-7-2, just like they were 8-7-1 with Kirk Cousins the year after they won the division. And it's just a sad, that sad final Sunday where you're just like, and you feel like punching a hole in your hat.
You like that?
I've written multiple columns about this. There is nothing worse than sitting through what I guess is now 70 minutes of football and just, nothing happened. It's a tie. Nobody wins.
Yeah.
What?
Another thing, they talk,
win or a loss.
I hate the fact that the NFL decreased overtime from 15 to 10 minutes.
It's almost like you're inviting more time.
They have gone out of their way, especially with, whereas previously it was sudden death or sudden victory, as we like to say sometimes, where the first score would get you there. Now you can kick a field goal. The other team can kick a field goal. 2 field goal drives, that more often than not equals 10 minutes of game time. And all of a sudden you've got a tie when you could have gone home and sent somebody home a winner. So The NFL's got to get its head out of its sneakers right there to make the overtime a little bit better. And you're not going to. Safety shouldn't be an issue from 70 to 75 minutes when you're having these guys play in 4 days.
Right.
All
right. Well, we're winding down here. Dave, what was you were going to talk about the college game and
yes,
the really special game that's coming up.
Well, there's just a ton of excitement with Virginia Tech winning last week, Virginia looking strong, Maryland playing well. Navy did not have a good opening day, but the midshipmen have a huge date this Saturday with Air Force. They usually play in November. This year, the 20th anniversary of 9/11, they will be on hand in Annapolis, Navy taking on Air Force, and a special day for all of those to commemorate. It's amazing, 20 years ago, where we were as a nation and where we'll be this Saturday. And it's a huge game it's a huge game on the field for Navy, because after losing by 42 in week 1, they can ill afford to go 0-2 to start the season. This might be their toughest schedule since head coach Ken Niumatalolo took over. They began the season. 2 of their opponents were in the top 10. Cincinnati and Notre Dame are still there. 7 others received votes to begin the year, including Army, who they wrap up the season with. Air Force is always a tough out, no matter where they play, whether it's Annapolis or in Colorado Springs. So they have a big one. In addition, Virginia has an 11 a.m. game this Saturday, which just boggles the mind. That's 11 Charlottesville time, which means it's 10 a.m. Champaign, Illinois time. You know who I'm taking this Saturday. But enjoy the college football season, and it'll be a somber day in Annapolis, in all seriousness.
Absolutely, and that's a day none of us will ever forget, and to commemorate it the best way possible is obviously something that we'd like to see. Jay, did you have a parting shot?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to come on to this podcast. I hope
I'm just glad you could join us from your hotel bed.
Yes, the setup we'll have to explain off the air.
Okay?
Yeah. But no, in all seriousness, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to another round and a little bit more prep time. Maybe get the playbill email at the beginning so I know what's going on. And coming in, no warm-up pitches coming in. They want the lefty to come out from the bullpen, but I didn't get a whole lot of time to warm up. But no, in all seriousness, I think it's going to be a fun season for the Washington football team. It does feel different. There's no drama. It's not a soap opera, Dave. You know what I mean? It's not like, now playing the part of so-and-so. There's none of this shenanigans going on behind the scenes. And, I think I like Red Hawks. Of those 8 team names that were released, I know they have 3 picked, but I like the Red Hawk theme to keep the R in the team somehow. A military, since I am on a military base right now, that kind of theme holds true. And I think it'll work, and we'll see what happens when they name that name coming up shortly. Should be interesting. But once again, thanks guys for putting up with me.
Hey man, it's always a pleasure to have you here. I want them to get away from red. Anything red. Red Wolves, Red Hawks, Red Potatoes.
I'm just going with what I initially had gone with, so I don't want to backtrack and pick another trend. I said Red Hawks from the beginning, so I want to stay true.
I know they're not going to pick Federals, but I still really like the idea of a stadium full of people screaming, "Here come the feds." That's what I want. That's what I want. I want that to be reality. And the only way it can be better is if Cam Newton comes out of the tunnel screaming, "Here comes the feds." So
and Guardians is already taken, so we can't use that one.
Yeah, nobody wants that. I mean, Defenders isn't terrible, but you already have an XFL team named Defender. So I don't even know how that's on the list. That's already done. So
it's a trap.
Rough Riders.
It's all a trap. And actually, come to think of it, Tanya Snyder was on the Adam Schefter podcast on Tuesday night and had some pretty revealing stuff in terms of just sort of what's going on with the team. I mean, she kind of confirmed a lot on a national level. They were really latching on to the 3 names that they'd whittled it down to, but that's something that we know locally. We've known that for a month, for a few weeks. Jason Wright said it a long time ago. But there was, it was very interesting because number one, she never one time, she talked about how hard it was for her family and for the organization and all that, but never one time did she talk about the people that that were directly affected by it, the people who were on the receiving end of the harassment, those allegations. So I would have loved to have heard her address that. But I thought it was interesting that she at one point said that, to me, it felt like it was like a Bruce Allen dig. She said that there were some highly paid employees who didn't listen to her and didn't listen to her advice and didn't listen to her counsel, and that she would be, in her conversations with her husband Dan, that that this would have happened. Her being a co-owner, being a co-CEO, this would have happened even absent the controversy. So. Look, I don't know how much of that is right. I don't know how much of that is, window dressing, but I thought it was a very interesting interview, and there was a couple of things to glean from that. There's no doubt. Well, this is another great edition of the DC Sports Huddle. Thanks for joining us. I am Rob Woodfork, getting ready to break the huddle with Jay Brooks and Dave Preston. Let's break the huddle, guys.